Hello again, I am Blunty, and before me I've got my Switch 2, and a small selection of XR glasses. And I've been thinking, are these actually even going to work with the Switch 2? Because rather notoriously, ever since day one on launch, people have been discovering that the Switch 2 is really extraordinarily finicky when it comes to its video output and docks in general. In fact, it will not work with any of the docks that I ordinarily use for my ROG Ally, for example. It will not work with any of the travel docks that I use with laptops and whatnot. But all of these XR glasses I have on my table were sent in for videos at one point or another, and I did test them with the original Switch, and they worked perfectly. We're going to check them again just to make sure everything works, so that's why I've got the original Switch out, and then we're going to try the Switch 2 and see if any of these, or any combination of these, is going to work with the Switch 2. Now, here's the lowdown on these glasses. I can plug these directly in, or at least when I got the cable connected. Right there. I can plug these directly into my iPhone, into my laptop, whatever, just anything with a standard USB-C, DisplayPort output, and they just work. They just work. With the original Switch, because to go into dock mode and thus to trigger its video output, it needs to also get power. Power, and the video output goes, oh, that's dock mode, and I'll spit out the video, and then it works. So that's where these come in. This is the Joy Dock, and this one is the Vitua mobile dock. And the glasses I've got here, these are the Vitua 1s, these are the Rayneo Air 2, these are the Rayneo Air 2S. Or possibly the other way around. They are extremely similar looking, so much so I had to write the model numbers on the damn things. Where did I write on this? This is the 2S. There we go. You see that? That one's the 2S. That makes that the 2. So, let's get to testing. First thing I'm going to do is pop off the Joy-Cons just to make life a little bit easier here and less cluttered on the desk because we've got a lot going on here. So I think first we'll go with the Joy Dock, and we'll also try just plugging straight in to see if they work. So, first up is the Vitua 1s, which have a little magnetic cable on here. I don't love this proprietary cables, but it is a very nice little MagSafe style thing. So on my face they go. There's a standard USB plug on the end there. So if we plug this directly into the Switch, and my glasses recognize there's something going on. They darkened a little bit, but there's no video signal there. Like I said, the Switch needs power as well as a video output to trigger docked mode. So the way this dock works is it's a battery pack with a little dock built into it, basically. The glasses go in there. Optional power delivery goes in there if you want to run off power directly at the same time. And we need a little USB cable here, like so. Let's make sure it works with the original Switch. So we plug in, and skadoodle, I have an image on the glasses of the Switch interface. Let's grab my Joy-Cons here, and yep, I can flick through it there. Everything's functioning perfectly. Wonderful. So, Joy Dock and Vitua 1 glasses works with the Switch 1. Excellent. Proof of concept. The setup still works. Nothing's broken since I've had it sitting on the shelf. So, what happens when we plug it into the Switch 2? Ka-chonk. So, okay, it's recognized we have a power supply attached, so there's that at least. We're getting a charging indicator up there as well, but as you can see, the screen has not dimmed, and that means video output mode hasn't activated, which means I'm never going to get an image on these things. So that doesn't work. This is exactly the kind of dock malarkey I was talking about. For some reason, the video output on this is not standard. So I don't know what bloody hell Nintendo's getting up to here, but I have an idea, and we'll talk about that as we go through here. But first we need to test every combination here. So the Vitua 1 glasses through the Joy Dock work with the Switch 1, do not work with the Switch 2. So next, let's go with the Rayneo Air 2s. And these ones are so much more comfortable than the Vitua 1s. Unfortunately, the Vitua 1s are the only ones I have prescription inserts with, because I do ordinarily wear prescription glasses, which, harms long-term use of these when I can't do that. So, into the glasses port we go with these ones. Ka-chunk. Once more into the original Switch, ka-chunk, and screen goes dark, which means it's recognized it's in dock mode, and boom, image straight away. And yeah, the image on these glasses is a lot better than the Vitua 1s as well. I really should tap these Rayneo people on the shoulder again and see if they want to send me some of their latest models to check out. It's been a while since I've had an email from them. So yeah, that works perfectly with the Switch 1. Excellent. Now, in with the Switch 2, are we going to get the same behavior? Yep. It's recognized as connected to power again, of course, and not doing anything with the video output. Yeah, this is starting to confirm my thoughts about this. So, away with the Airs, and in with the Rayneo Air 2S's. So once again, same pattern. Glasses plugged in. Switch 1, plugged in. Screen should go dark. There it goes. And there's my image. Excellent. Lovely. So, excellent. All of my XR glasses still work properly as intended. Nothing has fallen apart just sitting on the shelf. Good news. So, plugging in, power delivery, screen stays on. Same behavior as before, just as we might have expected. So, whatever this dock does to the Switch 1, it doesn't work for the Switch 2. And again, I have some thoughts on why this works with the Switch 1 and not the Switch 2, but we'll circle back to that because we have one other dock to play with, which is this one here. This is the Virtua mobile dock, and we're gonna run into a problem with this one. I know that already, if I'm remembering correctly from the first time I tested it, but yeah, we'll see. So, oh, we need that little USB cable back. So this is a very similar device, except it's got a HDMI port over there. Think about that for a second. In with the glasses, and on with the glasses. Switch 1 first, just to make sure this works. Ka-chunk. So, yep, screen goes off immediately. And give it a second to sync. Oh, there it is. Whatever. But yeah, that works. I can see the image very, very clearly, just as these things are supposed to do. So, now with the Switch 2, in we go. And looking for the power delivery recognition. No, this thing does light up. We are outputting power, but for whatever reason, not enough for this to recognize. But in any case, it is not working with these glasses at all. So we can unplug that. The Virtua 1 glasses, they do work with the Switch 1 through the Virtua dock, not with the Switch 2. So which ones have I picked up here? The 2S. Into the original Switch, and the screen goes black immediately, and nothing on the glasses. Now, this is the issue I was talking about. This is the Virtua dock. For some reason, it only works with the Virtua glasses. There is something specific about the handshake between these glasses and these dock that make it only work with the same brand glasses, which is pretty friggin' annoying, I gotta tell you. So, of course, there's no point even checking whether the Switch 2 works, because the Switch 1 doesn't even work with this particular combination. And just for sanity's sake, we'll try the Air 2s as well. And I'm expecting exactly the same result. Plug it in, and nothing. So, what's going on here exactly? Well, we know that this dock only works with these glasses. That's fine. We'll put those aside for now. So, this Joy dock is our go-to. We know this will pull a signal out of a switch into the glasses. And we use the Rayneo Air 2S here. It's out of the three that I have. These are the better ones. They're very light, very comfortable, good screen, and slightly better audio than the non-S model of the two. So, why does this work with the original Switch and not the Switch 2? Can I even show you? Yeah, I can kind of show you the screen in there. There you go. These things are very difficult to film when I'm trying to give people an idea of what it actually looks like inside these things. This is the big floating screen. So, here's part of the problem, at least. Let me get my regular glasses back on. Much better. So, the original Switch dock wants 15 volts, 2.6 amps in. The Joy dock here is capable of supplying up to 20 volts, 1 amp. That's a 20 watt max output over USB-C. USB-C power delivery has a range of different modes. It can use different voltages and amperage sort of combinations. And the Joy dock does support the one the Switch 1 expects to activate its docked mode. While the maximum power output of the Joy dock is just shy of about 40 watts, I think it's 38 watts technically speaking, although there is a bit of overhead because you've got to run the glasses and all that sort of stuff as well. The Switch 2 does want a 20 volt input, but it wants it at 3 amps, which is why the Switch 2 comes with a power adapter that can output 60 watts total. So part of the problem we're seeing here is the docks that I'm using are not capable of outputting enough power at the right USB-C power profile to activate docked mode on the Switch 2. So, that's where something like this can come in. This is, again, an accessory that was supplied to me for the Virtua glasses. It is not Virtua specific, they just put their brand on it. This is a little splitter, kind of like a double adapter for USB-C, mini dock if you will. One side of this is set up for the data, so you can plug the glasses into there. The other side is for power delivery. This thing was intended for use, so you could use this thing with your phone, for example, and also power your phone at the same time, so you're not draining the phone's battery, because the phone obviously only has one USB-C input down the bottom there. So this was supplied to solve that issue. So what happens if we use this with the Switch 2 to supply it with power separately and then plug the glasses in? Let's find out. I've got my USB-C cable here. This is the one I'm currently using with the Switch 2 plugged into the dock. I'm not actually using the supplied charger that came with it at the moment. But I do know for a fact the USB wall wart this is plugged into on the other end exceeds what the Switch 2 ever needs. And I've had no problems using this with the official dock. So into the power supply side it goes. Off with my regular glasses. On with the Air 2S's. And let's see if that works. Ka-chunk. Yeah, nothing. Funnily enough, the Switch 2 doesn't even seem to acknowledge that it's got power input. Let's plug this power directly in. Yep. So I haven't accidentally unplugged this USB cable at the other end or anything. It's just not wanting to feed through power from this adapter for some reason. This adapter I've used with a bunch of different stuff, including my ROG Ally. I use it all the time with my ROG Ally because I feed power directly into it and then connect a dock to it out of the other data port, because the dock that I like to use with my ROG Ally doesn't quite feed it enough power to reliably trigger the turbo state for some weird reason outside of the purview of this video. But I know for a fact this thing works, and works really well to directly power stuff that is very hungry for power. So it's time to problem solve. I have a range of docks and stuff and things and adapters and USB and DisplayPort converters, and we're not going to sit here and go through all of these, but I've got some plans to test. So I'm going to go down the rabbit hole for an hour or two, and I'll come back and tell you what I learned. I made a joke before the cut that I was going to go down the rabbit hole and test a bunch of stuff, and boy, holy crap, did I go down a rabbit hole. I tried so many different combinations of docks and adapters and video outputs and power inputs and the glasses and the... Nothing worked. No combination of dock and power adapter and laptop dock and or video converters, DisplayPort to HDMI or HDMI to DisplayPort adapters and things. Nothing in my armory of docks and video adapters and power supplies would get this damn thing to output a video signal over its USB port, just like it does when you plug it into its own dock. I don't know what black friggin' magic Nintendo are doing here, but it's really friggin' annoying. Anti-consumer even, Nintendo. So, there is one way, and one way only, that I got XR glasses to work with the Switch 2. And it was by putting it in its dock. So, let's do that. Into the dock it goes. This right here is a HDMI cable connect to the dock right now. So remember before when I told you the Virtua dock thing here has a HDMI port on it? Well, that's what this is for. So we plug the HDMI signal in, and unfortunately, because the Virtua dock is the only one that I have that works with glasses that has a HDMI input, we're going to have to use my least favorite of the three XR glasses we have, the Virtua ones. So we plug those in to their special Virtua dock. We've got the HDMI coming in, and any second now. Boom! Ta-da! Let me see if I can show you in the camera there. There we go. You can just kind of see it there, but that is indeed the Switch 2 being displayed through the XR glasses here. So the only way is to use the Switch's own dock, which means we can't use these as a travel solution. We can't use these as just sort of lie in bed and have the Switch connected to power and just, have a These show us a nice big screen as we're lying down. We can't use them while out and about or while traveling, while commuting, because you need the Switch's dock just to get that HDMI output in the first place. So, for now, that's it. That's the only option, which is pretty frustrating. But I did a little bit of Googling as I was tumbling down the rabbit hole, and apparently the Pro version of this dock, something that didn't exist when I originally looked at these glasses, does have a firmware update that enables it to work with the Switch 2 as intended, as a mobile docking device. However, that firmware update tends to mess up a lot of other outputs the dock is supposed to work with, like phones, for example, apparently, according to some reports. So it's a very, very flaky proof of concept firmware update that you should only ever apply to the dock if you want it to work with the Switch 2. And there is no such firmware update for this original version, the non-Pro version of this Virtua dock. So, sadly, that is where our story ends, in miserable failure. But hopefully learning a little bit about the Switch 2's output along the way. Did you know about the power deliveries? No, actually, I was really hoping that was going to solve the problem. I was sure I was onto something there. I thought, all it needs is the right amount of power and it's going to trigger dock mode. No problem. Nope, there's something else going on there. And I guess I'll have to leave it to people who are smarter in different ways than I am to figure it out and decode what that OG dock is actually doing to that video signal to take the display port from the USB-C into HDMI through the dock. Because it's not standard. I'll tell you that much. It ain't standard. Nintendo, you bastards! Why wouldn't you just use a standard? Why? Use standard video input for the web cameras. We already spoke about that. You know, the third-party web cameras work fine. Why is the video output so awkward? What's going on? Anyway, if you've had better luck than I have with various XR glasses, perhaps some newer models, because these are at least a couple of years old, I think, at this point. It's been a while since I've looked at XR glasses. I wanted to let them mature a bit more before I took a second look, but maybe now's the time. Switch 2. Could be fun. But finally for now, womp womp, sad trombone. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty. I'll catch you next time. Thank you as always to the patrons who appreciate their support very much. And of course, thank you to the Switch 2 dock crew who helped me get the Switch 2 in the first place so we can make stupid video failures like this. Hooray! Want to know something funny? The Switch 2 has already taken over the muscle memory. I'm cleaning up the desk here, putting all the crap aside so I can sort of get to work and edit this video. And I'm going to put the Switch away, the original Switch away, and I'm like, why would the Joy-Cons go on? You gotta slide these ones on, you moron. Switch 2 has already taken over the muscle memory of reattaching those Joy-Cons with the magnetic clamp. Oh, there's a derpy moment. Proud of that one.